When you're starting your first business, one of the worst things you can do is follow your passion. Follow your passion is one of these kind of bits of advice that's thrown around by business gurus or business leaders who aren't really thinking through the ramifications of this. If we purely followed our passions, if we purely followed what we like to do, a lot of our businesses would involve watching Netflix or playing video games or lounging by the beach. These are things that we actually want to do, but they're not the basis of a solid value producing business. So instead, I want to walk you through a process that will help you to identify what kind of business you should be starting, what kind of niche you should be focusing on that's adapted to your strengths and your skills, and also the type of activities that you find engaging. Not necessarily fun, not necessarily your passion, but engaging, so that you can stick with them and sustainably build a business in that particular niche. So I've actually gone ahead and I've built a few different coaching prompts in ChatGPT. Coaching prompts are basically prompts where you put in the basic prompt, you copy and paste it in, and it's set up in a way that ChatGPT is going to ask you a series of questions. It might be 3, it might be 5, it might be, in the case of some of these prompts, 10, 20, 30 questions. And ChatGPT is going to use this coaching process to get information out of you and then change the additional questions it's going to ask you in order to extract things like your skills, things like your strengths, or things like activities that put you into a flow state. Coaching prompts are very powerful, so I want you to go ahead and use these. So make sure you get them from the description below this video. It should be linked somewhere. If not, the full prompts available for you right there, and plug them into ChatGPT yourself. However, I want to walk you through the process here so that you get an idea of why we're doing this, the importance of this, and why it's going to be vital for setting up your business. So first up, we want to uncover our skill. Now, skills are things that you're good at. They're activities that you are good at. For some people, this is going to be really easy because you know what you're good at. Some people have a self-confidence in their abilities and they're able to quickly rattle off a list of, oh yeah, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I'm good at all of these different things. For other people, like myself, this is not an easy process. If you ask me to sit down and write a list of the things that I'm good at, I find that really difficult. I don't really personally have the self-confidence to be able to do that in a very comprehensive fashion. And even if you do have self-confidence, it's often easy to overlook our blind spots. There are certain things that we are so good at that we no longer consider them to be a skill. For example, I was asked to fix my mum's printer the other day, and I do not consider myself skilled at fixing hardware. Hardware is not really my thing. I do software, I do AI, although I was able to do it. So in somebody else's eyes, I was considered skilled because my relative skill level was higher, even though I would never sit down and write computer hardware or printer hardware as one of my skills. So it's a skill that has been so ingrained that is no longer conscious. For these kind of skills, even if you have really high self-esteem or high self-awareness of what you're good at, you're still going to miss them because you do not assume that they are skills. Excel is another good example here. Some people are absolute whizzes in Excel, but they don't really think about their skill level and the fact that they're superb at that particular skill. So these are the kind of things that we're going to use ChatGPT to help us to extract because we don't necessarily know what it is that we are ourselves good at. So the prompt is very simple. Now we start with the role statement. So at the beginning we say, hey, I want you to act as a coach. That's going to put ChatGPT into the frame of mind where it's thinking, okay, I need to coach this person. What are the kind of things a coach would say? What are the kind of responses a coach would require from their coachee? The second line is, I often find it hard to know what I'm good at. Please coach me to help me curate a list of my skills. So we're giving it a bit of context about why we're using ChatGPT for this reason. And this is going to help ChatGPT to uncover the more uncommon skills or skills that most people would take for granted. And then the final line is, ask me questions about life, work, and my hobbies until you have extracted my skills. So this is a very simple coaching prompt, but it's enough for ChatGPT to put out quite a lot of information and start to request a lot from us. Basically, ChatGPT is going to ask you a set of questions. First up, it's going to give you a set of broad categories and ask for information. So like, what's your current job? What are your past jobs? Formal education, courses and workshops you might have done. What are your kind of hobbies? Any special achievements? Have you run a marathon, for example? Travel, where have you traveled? What challenges have you overcome? It's going to ask these broad questions, first of all, before it starts to narrow in And this is how the coaching prompts work. They start broad, then they get narrow in order to extract more information from us. So with this prompt, we will one by one go through each of these areas. So I would just say, okay, this is my job right now, and these are my previous jobs or the previous work I've done. That will tell ChatGPT that we're going to be talking about work. So from there, ChatGPT then said, okay, we've managed to identify you work in digital marketing and you teach. Great. It will start to ask supplementary questions about that particular or those particular areas of your life. And again, it's going to be collecting more and more details. So for digital marketing here, we have what specific areas within digital marketing do you handle, e.g. SEO, email marketing, paid advertising, content creation? Have you used any specific tools or platforms before, e.g. Google Analytics, MailChimp, Facebook Ad Manager, etc., etc.? This is really useful because I wouldn't necessarily think of these tools or these specific areas as my specialities because I take them for granted. But as soon as ChatGPT starts to list them out for me, it becomes a lot easier for me to work because I can just say, oh yeah, what that and that and that and that. It's much easier for us to select and to edit rather than to create from scratch. So from this point, once I've answered this second layer of questions, ChatGPT is going to go to a third layer of questions, and it's going to start to identify the actual skills that are connected to the areas that I've identified. So for search engine optimization, you can see an example. It's gone ahead and pulled these skills out. It's saying, okay, if you know how to do search engine optimization, then the skills, the specific activities that you can do are keyword research, on-page optimization, link building, performance analysis. Great. Again, I would never have written these things if I just had a blank piece of paper in front of me, but ChatGPT has helped to extract that information by going through this series of questions. This is exactly the same process that a job coach or some kind of professional coach would go through with you in order to work out what it is you're good at. You'd have a questionnaire, and then you'd be asked further questions in order to go deeper and deeper and to extract the information that's necessary. So once you've gone through this process for work, for example, you go ahead and you tell ChatGPT, great, save these and return to the top level, or save these and let's now talk about my hobbies. And you would continue this process, working through each of the areas one by one, with ChatGPT compiling it all together into a long list. You can also just copy and paste them into a document if you want. It's entirely up to you. The main thing is that we continue this process and we work through each area of life. We work through all the questions that are given to us in that area of life, and then we extract the skills that have been identified by ChatGPT. And at the end of this process, and it could be quite a long process, you are going to have an inventory of all of your skills across all the different parts of life. If you had just sat down with a pen and paper and tried to write this down, you might have, 10, 20, 30 different skills written down, and they'd probably be your main ones. But this is allowing us to really get in depth and to come up with a real asset, which is going to be a long form inventory of hundreds of skills that you have. This is going to be really useful moving into later steps where we're going to ask ChatGPT to help us to come up with a business idea related to our skills and our strengths and what it is that we find